So this is gonna be my top 10. It's actually more than 10, but spring fragrances. I know I'm late to doing this. The reason it's more than 10 is because some of these are just pretty similar, and you could really obviously wear them interchangeably, and I certainly will be wearing them. And we'll get into that as I'm going over it. I actually already shot this video. I got to reshoot it because my mic wasn't working, so I'm going to go through it again. But I'm going to start with this. It's from the House of Armani, and this is Aqua Profundo Lights. This is the second newest flanker. Came out prior to Aqua EDP, which is a more modernized take kind of on the original Pour Homme DNA. It kind of makes it more mature, but certainly modernizes it. Adds in some musks. It's very bright citrusy. You get some of that marineness from the Profundo and Profumo lines. But this one takes that Profundo DNA, which is basically Aqua di Gio's kind of blue take. You know, it's kind of that whole modernized blue trend of a blue style fragrance. Profundo does that. It takes the Pour Homme DNA, it makes it more marine, gives it this kind of blue mass appeal, scent profile that you get from something like Bleu de Chanel, Dylan Blue, Dior Sauvage, but does its own thing. You get some marine notes. It smells more like the sea than, you know, Aqua di Gio Pour Homme, which has an aquatic smell to it, but doesn't really smell like an actual the sea or marine or anything like that. You know, so the Profundo DNA takes that and makes it more marine. The Profundo Lights takes it a step further. It adds in a lot of green elements to it, resins and green elements. It gives it this kind of just more, in my opinion, something that kind of resembles more like the actual deep sea. You know, if you're talking about kind of like algae and some of that like growth and vegetation in the sea. That's what this is. I think this smells, to me, reminds me most of any of the Aqua di Gio line of, again, the like actual ocean. But it's certainly still mass appealing. It's done in a very good way. It's got a sweetness in the opening from the cardamom. You know, but again, it has that very good mass appeal, very universal versatility of the Aqua di Gio line. But to me, this is the best of the kind of blue style DNA. Now, this is also one you could wear easily, very interchangeably. This is probably my favorite from the line. This takes the DNA and darkens it up. Takes the Aqua di Gio DNA, makes it more mature, adds an incense, really darkens it up, adds this nice seductiveness to it. Certainly has a sweetness about it as well. But this is the most mature, with the exception of maybe Aqua di Gio Instinct. This is the most mature of the line. Very versatile. Smells very good. Something you could certainly wear all year round, but does better than the rest in the colder weather. But again, this is my favorite from the line. I think it's the most seductive. It's definitely more mature, but Profundo Lights is great for the spring. It's very marine, like I said. It has this green element to the normal Profundo DNA. Very mass appealing. It's certainly going to get you compliments. Certainly versatile. So those could be really just interchanged depending on what you're looking for. This is one of my newest pickups on this list. This is Dior Homme Sport. It's the new one. So this gets rid of the iris from the original Dior Homme line, the original Dior Homme Sport. You get a very bright mandarin in this. It's very just in your face, effervescent, sparkly, fizzy, citrus opening with a very heavy dose of ISO-E Super. Very woody element to it. Extremely mass appealing. Very versatile. Gonna get you compliments, gonna get you noticed. The longevity on this isn't crazy. I get about 6 hours. Both the Aqua di Gios, I get good longevity. 6 to 7 out of Profundo Lights. In Profumo, my batches of Profumo last easy 8-9 hours. But this is great, fantastic gym scent. Obviously the name is Sport, but with them doing away with the iris makes it way more mass appealing in my opinion, and way more versatile, especially something that's gonna be great in the spring and the summer months. So here's two more that could be kind of done interchange. You know, you could swap them out depending on your preference. They're both by YSL. This is YSL Y La Parfum. This is the newest from the line. The Y line is marketed towards younger people, kind of the millennial generation. It is a very, basically the base of the DNA is this green apple note and aldehydes. So that's kind of what really is the Y DNA, the underlying DNA in all of them, the entire line. This takes that and it really just puts kind of an oriental spin to it. It's going to resemble Leighton a lot in the note breakdown. It doesn't smell like Leighton, but it's got lavender in it, geranium in it, maybe an apple in the opening. But the aldehydes really kind of keep that Y DNA, but it smells more, again, kind of classy, more sensual, more grown up, less juvenile than the rest of the line, but has a very unique seductiveness to it. Longevity is not as good as the Eau de Parfum. Eau de Parfum is the longest lasting of the line. That'll last you probably 10, 12 hours. This, I get about 6 hours out of it, but it smells really good. Really good. It's got a really nice level of sweetness to it that's not overpowering. Certainly versatile. You can wear it in the office. You can wear it out. Wear it to the gym. You can wear it on a date. Maybe not the gym, but it might be a little too much for the gym. But, you know, you're just going out, running around, office, date, really anywhere else. This is something you could do interchangeably. I didn't put this in the list only because it's discontinued. This is YSL La Nuit Bleu Electrique, the newest flanker from the La Nuit line. La Nuit, depending on how you want to pronounce it. This is discontinued very quickly. So basically this takes a more modern approach to the La Nuit DNA as far as it takes a little kind of blue element and adds it to it. You get this powdery blue kind of vibe, freshness in the opening. But what's unique about this, they took the cardamom note and they made it resemble the vintage batches a lot more than the new modern batches do. So it smells like vintage La Nuit in the dry down. After the initial opening, once that powderiness kind of dies out, powderiness from the blue elements they add to it, it really resembles the original. And it's got good staying power. It'll last, you know, 6-7 hours, which is way better than newer batches. The issue is now this is 100 plus online. When this came out, you could get it discounted for 30 bucks on Macy's quite often. I got 4 bottles of it when it came out just because I really enjoyed it, and it was cheap. But now, of course, it's insanely expensive. So anyway, that's why I put the La Parfum in there instead. Next on this list is Dior Sauvage Elixir. So this just came out this year. It is very, very potent. Comes in a 2-ounce bottle. It's about 135 bucks. You can get it about 115 on sale. A lot of people complaining because of that 60 mil, but I'll tell you this, it lasts forever. 1 or 2 sprays, probably about 2-3 sprays actually, but it's gonna last 24 hours on you. So this bottle's gonna last just as long as a bigger bottle, and it is potent, projects like crazy as well. Now this takes the normal, you know, Sauvage DNA and makes it more mature. There's a ton of spices in it. There's licorice, cinnamon, just a bunch of spices added to the original DNA, and it also has components, a big heavy dose of lavender, which a lot of people combine. Let's say basically it's like, you know, an old style fragrance meets modern basically. So take something like Jacquard and you mix it with Sauvage and you get this kind of, I get that. It's certainly the most mature from the line, the most unique from the line, but it is an attention grabber, partially because it's so dang strong. Everybody's going to smell it. I've gotten a ton of compliments on this. I really enjoy it. It is more mature though, but it's really become one of my, you know, quickly become one of my most worn fragrances, and I want to wear it as much as I can before it gets real hot, and I can't really wear it in the summer. So love it. If you're looking for something that's, you know, if you're one of those performance people, needs something that's going to last forever, it's mass appealing, pick that one up. And next on the line is from the House of Creed, and this is probably the most controversial on this list as far as a lot of people don't like it. A lot of people were let down by this. They thought it was going to be, you know, more like Viking. This is Creed Viking Cologne. It did what I thought it would do. It took the Viking DNA, which is this basically very fougere, spicy barbershop fragrance, and it lightened it up to make it more wearable. It's got a heavy dose of vetiver. It's got a lot of mandarin in the opening, and it dials back some of that pink pepper, the spice that comes with it. Yeah, I mean, I like it. It's certainly mature, just like Viking is. It's for an older, you know, gentleman, I would say, at least in your 30s and up. It's not very mass appealing. It's not offensive though either. But this isn't going to get you a ton of compliments. If that's your main goal, this is not it. But I think I love this personally. Love the DNA of this style fragrance. So I just wear this for myself. And this is a perfect kind of month to do that. It's very good in the spring months. Next on this list, another discontinued fragrance. And this is Hugo Boss Bottled Intense. This, people say, smells like apple pie, kind of. It's got a very prominent apple note in the opening. It's going to resemble kind of like almost like apple cider, but it's got the sweetness to it. Very mass appealing. This will certainly get you noticed, certainly get you compliments. It lasts pretty long on me. I mean, some people complain about performance. I got about 6 hours out of it. Now, unfortunately, this used to be able to get this for 30, 40 bucks. Once it was discontinued, now it's risen to, again, like La Nuit Bleu Electrique, about $120 range on eBay. So this has gotten a lot more pricey. And for that price point, you're better off just getting a bottle of Parfums de Marly Layton. You can pick this up for about $125 for the 4.2 ounce on Fragrance Marketplace pretty often. I've gotten them even as cheap as $80 for a partial 85% full bottles. And this is going to have similar kind of DNA. They both have that sweet, bright green apple, vanilla. They're going to kind of resemble each other. I think they smell different personally, but I think this smells better. And for the price point, this is a much higher quality fragrance. But they're both good options if you can find a bottle of Boss Bottled for cheap. But Layton is something else. You get geranium, you get, again, the green apple in the opening. There's lavender in here, kind of makes it this like nice, formal scent at the same time. But there's just this wonderful just seductiveness to it. Some people are put off with the opening. They say it smells like kind of Vicks. The newer batches don't really. The older batches had a more prominent kind of menthol vibe in the opening. But man, I love it. Super seductive. And along those lines, my favorite from this house of Parfums de Marly for the spring is Sedley. And this is a very citrusy mint fragrance with a nice sensual vibe to it. So it's going to be this bright, super juicy citrus with a mint backing that's going to have this creamy dry down. Almost resembles something kind of like lemon meringue pie, but it smells amazing, very mass appealing. Again, it's going to get you compliments. It lasts a long time too. Now, be careful because the first batches of this in the 75 ml that came out did not last at all. They got reformulated about a year after it came out. This is one of the few fragrances that got reformulated for the better. Scent profile is the same, but it actually lasts now. I get about 7 hours out of this, no problem. For a fresh fragrance, not bad at all. Love this one. You can also easily go with Greenleaf from House Parfums de Marly. It's also going to be getting a lot of wear for me. This has a super bright, juicy green apple opening and a heavy dose of oak moss in the dry down. There's also additional woods and stuff in here, but those are the main notes you're going to get. It's going to kind of resemble something like Nishane Hashivat if you replace the pineapple with a green apple note. This is killer in the spring. It's going to get you noticed. Again, I think it's less mass appealing than Sedley, just because of the oak moss, just like Nishane. Sometimes that can rub people off. It can come off like petrol sometimes to some people. So I think out of the two, if you're just looking for something that's going to be mass appealing, I would go with Sedley. I'd go with Sedley anyway. I think it's a better fragrance in my opinion, but Greenleaf is still very good. Some people say it smells like a high-end, basically something like a shampoo, because a lot of the shampoo is like green apple, and I kind of see that, but I don't really get it. Again, there's just so many options from this house. Percival, this is a basically more mature, more niche version of Abercrombie & Fitch Fierce. Super mass appealing, obviously, because of that. A ton of florals, ton of citruses, just as Fierce has. And it's mass appealing. It's going to get you noticed. Very versatile. I just find it kind of boring because there's so many fragrances like that now. In Galloway, this is perfect for the spring and summer. It's a very, almost kind of similar to something like Creed Viking Cologne or Creed Viking. It's a spicy kind of fougere style fragrance. It's got pepper, big dose of pepper, big citruses. big burst of freshness basically in the opening. But because of that pepper, it's spicy, it's more mature. It's certainly something that I think is more for the 30 and up crowd. Not as mass appealing as Sedley, not as mass appealing probably as Greenlee, Percival, but it smells amazing. But this is something that you got to wear because you like, and at the end of the day, it's really what matters. But I would suggest sampling this because it isn't as mass appealing. It does last, though. They all perform really well, to be honest with you. All the lines, or all the Parfums de Marly's fragrances I have perform really well. I mean, at least you're getting at least 6-7 hours at them, if not, even in the fresh range. So, good performer. I would check that out as well. And lastly, this shouldn't really be a surprise to anybody, but it's Creative Ventus or Mont Blanc Explorer. Put this in here because Creative Ventus is overpriced, at least now, for what you get. It's crazy expensive. The prices has gone up and the performance has gone down. The scent profile now smells a lot more similar to the clones do because of it doesn't smell as good as it used to. So you're stuck, unfortunately, with either sourcing an old bottle that's super expensive, or getting something like the 2019 and up, which is what I have, which is it's not that much different than a lot of the colognes out there, and certainly not for the price point. So this is going to get you a similar vibe to Creative Ventus. It's Mont Blanc's take on it, basically. It's got added leather, and it does its own thing, but you're going to still get that super bright kind of pineapple opening, this kind of vanilla dry down. And that's really the components of Creative Ventus that a lot of people are drawn towards. It's going to have kind of a woody vibe to it, but again, with a little bit of that leather backing. Very mass appealing, very versatile. Great fragrance, very mass appealing. When I first got this, I thought the performance sucked. My first bottle, I was gone for like 30 minutes. I couldn't smell it anymore. But I've come to realize it's just, I maybe from wearing it so much, I don't know, but I go nose blind to the DNA, Creative Ventus style DNA. And I found it out because I've worn this and some colognes of Creative Ventus, such as King's Monarch and Montaigne's Pineapple Intense. And 7 hours later, 8 hours later, I was walking around and I would get complimented on my fragrance. And I'm like, I can't even smell it anymore. I thought it was gone, but just because I've become nose blind to it. You can get this super cheap. You can get this for about 30, 40 bucks. A lot on eBay and discounters like Aurora Fragrance. So certainly keep an eye out if you're looking to get this cheap. That's for a 3.3 ounce tester, about 30, 40 bucks. Way better buy than $400 for a modern batch of Creative Ventus, or $250. Best find you can find it at, really, about $250. So anyway, that's what I'm going to be wearing, mainly in the spring. I'm going to be doing a cologne list as well. Got a ton of cologne fragrances that I want to wear as well. And so I'll probably do like a top 10 or 15 maybe of those because there's so many of them. But I want to get this out first. Anyway, what do you think made the list that shouldn't have? And vice versa. What are you all going to be wearing? Certainly interested in hearing, and any other suggestions that you have for me. I'd like to hear as well. But yeah, I plan on wearing all of these. I got a big collection, so this is just part of it. But these are the ones I think I'm going to be wearing the most. Again, not including the clones in the spring. So anyway, hope you all doing well. And yeah, hopefully this helps, guide some of you. If you have any more questions or follow-ups on any of these, or would like individual reviews on any of them, let me know in the comment section.